That is a great fish. My word. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Erie Fishing. Today I'm going to be tying a fly here. The fly that I'm going to be tying today is called the Prince Nymph. It's the nymph that I used in my last video where I caught a bunch of chubs and a few bass. If you haven't seen that video, go back and watch it now. So we're just going to be tying that fly today. So let's go through the materials that I use to tie this fly. So for my thread, just my Vivas GSP 100 denier. You can really use whatever thread you want, just as long as it's pretty strong. And I'm using it, like I said, in black. We have a number 10 streamer hook here with a tungsten bead. We're also going to be using some lead wire to secure that bead. We're going to be using some black goose biots for the tail, and then some white goose biots for the wing. We'll also be using this saddle here for part of the wing too. We're just going to be using one of these feathers. We also need some ice dub, UV, and black. You can use natural. I like the UV just because it adds a little bit of flash. And you also need some copper wire, really whatever size you want. That's just for the ribbing, and it will make the fly a little bit more durable if you add this copper wire. You absolutely don't have to, but you can if you want. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is just start my thread behind the bead. I'm just going to wrap it back to about the middle of the hook shank. And I'm going to wrap it back up to the bead. Now is when I'm going to put my lead wire in. This is a slotted bead, so it has that little slot there. So I'm just going to slide it up into the slot and then wrap over it. Now you can either helicopter it free or just cut it. Then we're just going to wrap over that lead. Just like that, and then wrap to the back or the barb where the barb is, bend of the hook. And on my Prince Nymphs, I like to wrap a little bit onto the bend. Just makes the goose biots go down a little bit, which in my opinion makes the fly look a little bit more natural. So now you just want to take your goose biots here, and I want to pick out two that look about the same size. Cut them off. Just like that. And then I'm going to tie those in. And you want them to be about half the length of the hook. And when you're tying in goose biots, it's really important that you make them the same length, same size. Sorry about that, just bumped the camera. Alright, so we got our goose biots tied in now. I kind of just want to even out the body of this fly with my thread. I want there to be a nice even taper. Then I'm going to wrap up to my bead. And now is when I'm going to secure my copper wire here. So I'm just going to cut off a little bit. Just about that much. Doesn't really matter how much, just enough that you can wrap the body. I guess you're really not even going to be wrapping the entire body, just a small portion of it. So that's probably like way too much. But it'll be plenty for this fly. Maybe I can tie another one with it. Just want to put your copper wire through the bead. And then just wrap it back to the goose biots or the bend in the hook. Okay, now I'm going to be taking my dubbing here, And what I like to do when I dub, I like to wet my fingers a little bit. It just kind of helps the dubbing stick to the thread. And I want to build a nice taper into my dubbing, so I want it to be thin at the start and then thicker at the back, which is really what you should do for all nymphs. Okay, so it's pretty thin, and then it gets thicker towards the back. That's how you want it. Now I'm just going to begin wrapping, wrapping my dubbing up the fly. And if you need more, you can go ahead and add more. That's fine. I'm going to need to. And like I said, you just want it to get thicker and thicker as you go up the fly to create some taper. And you're just going to wrap so there's at least a hook eye's length away from the bead. A little bit less, a little bit more, it depends. And now you're just going to wrap your copper wire ribbing up through the dubbing to create the segments in the fly. Tie off your copper wire like that. Trim it. Wrap over it a little bit. Okay, now you're going to put in your hackle here. Like I said, you don't want too big of a hackle. This one will be about good. You want to strip all the fuzzy stuff off, just like I did here. And then you're just going to cut the stem, and then just tie that down. Some nice tight wraps. And then wrap to just behind the bead with your thread. Take some hackle pliers, clamp down on the hackle, and just start wrapping the hackle up. I want to make about 5 or 6 turns with this, then tie it off. Make a few wraps over it. And then just break the tip of the hackle off. As you can see, now we have our legs and part of the wing. Now we are going to take our white goose biots. And the original has white goose biots. You can really make them whatever colors you want, though. I'm going to be using white. You want to pick 2 good ones again. Take my scissors if I can find them. Cut them off. And you want these white biots to be about the length of the hackles, maybe a little bit longer. Then just trim them at the length that you want them to be. And just wrap them on so that there will be nothing sticking out by the bead. You want them to be even on each side. And you want them to be sticking out at the top and not really on the sides. So as you can see, this one's kind of on the top and side, which is what you want. I'm going to take the other one, make sure I got the same length. So right in there is about good. Then I'm going to tie it down the same way. It's right over the top of the fly. Like that. And we have a nice collar built up here. So we're ready to whip finish here. So we're just going to whip finish. It's about a 6-turn whip finish. Pull our thread tight, and you can cut the tag like that. I'm just going to be using some head cement. You can use super glue, you can use UV resin, you can really use anything. So I'm just going to put some super glue on my bodkin here, not too much. Now I'm just going to take the super glue and just spread it over my collar here. Now it won't look nearly as nice as it would with some UV resin, but super glue is actually a lot stronger than UV resin is, so that's mainly why I use super glue on the heads of most of my flies. It's just a little messier and it doesn't look as clean, but it is a lot stronger and your flies will last a lot longer. Alright, now just take this fly out of the vise. As you can see, it's a pretty cool nymph. I like to fish this under an indicator with a few pieces of split shot. It seems to work best for me. You can catch bass, chubs, steelhead, really trout, anything on this fly. It's a pretty cool little pattern. Works pretty well. It's very durable, and it's a great fly that to fill up your fly box with. So I highly suggest making this fly. It's really cool. Works really well. And stay tuned. Make sure to watch my videos if you haven't seen them. This has been Erie Fishing. Hope you liked this video. Hope you learned a little bit from it. And I'll see you in the next one.